So Innovation Building Maintenance was founded in 2009, but we have a multi-generational ownership group that's got over 100 years of combined experience. Our family has been in the industry for a very long time. I grew up in the industry. I started when I was 11 years old. I started with doing deliveries, doing the cleaning, doing some of the auxiliary service, whether it's elevator restoration, floor maintenance, carpet cleaning, you name it, I've done it all. So the natural progression for me to move into the management side of things and eventually into the executive side of things was a natural progression for me. And it's been a really fun journey along the way. We have customers big and small, Fortune 500 companies, small standalone facilities, and we service multiple different segments in the market from commercial office, medical, industrial, aerospace, automotive, warehousing, logistics, pretty much everything. So Innovation Building Maintenance prides themselves on a core mission statement of providing innovative quality services with a hands-on management style, and we have a dedicated client services team that alleviates any customer concerns or anything like that. So we heard about Miro through some of our industry connections, and we decided to conduct our own independent research, look at your website and kind of see if there were, some similarities in the way that we could bring value to our customers, and those things seemed to line up. So we decided to reach out and kind of move forward and start that relationship. So when I started in the industry, it was a very different landscape. There was no cell phones, there were no emails. It was very word of mouth. When you saw the customers, you got their constructive feedback on how you could improve the quality of your services. And I've been able to be a part of the journey with technology and its implementation in the industry. And there's been hiccups along the way, but I think we've been able to finally find a product that brings a lot of added value and also eliminates those quality concerns and the gaps in human error that are involved with other technologies. So I've been fortunate enough to see the transition of new technology being brought into the janitorial industry, and it's really exciting, some of the products that are coming down the pipeline. And I think in terms of quality control systems, we finally found the pinnacle of that with Miro and the software and technology that they bring to all of our sites. Managing quality services comes with its own inherent difficulties. The quality control systems that we were using in the past had exploitable gaps, and we found that they were susceptible to human error. On top of that, unionized sites come with their own difficulties as well, whether it's inheriting trouble employees or if it's difficult to manage those employees because the collective bargaining agreements make that a difficult process. Although we were able to minimize those concerns with our hands-on management structure, there was still a need to eliminate them completely so that way we could provide the best services to our customers. And Miro's technology enabled us to provide them with real-time, data-driven validation metrics that alleviated those concerns for our customers, their tenants, and our management staff. As new technology was developing in the janitorial industry, cleaning validation became an important KPI for many customers. This KPI became heightened during the COVID-19 pandemic, where cleaning for health became vitally important in keeping people healthy and minimizing the spread of COVID-19 in the workplace. That important KPI metric was highlighted during COVID-19 and created a fundamental need for improved quality services overall in the janitorial industry. And that really pushed for better quality control systems, and Miro's technology was that answer. Gaps in cleaning validation enabled discrepancies at a time of critical importance. And these gaps needed to be eliminated because the COVID-19 pandemic created a heightened awareness of cleaning validation. And if there were discrepancies in the reports that were generated in the field through quality control systems like QR codes or inspection reports, that left customers questioning our service deliverables. And obviously we can't have that because that creates increased cost on our end from a management perspective, where we try to eliminate those concerns by increasing supervision and labor on site. So it was critically important for us to eliminate those concerns. If we were unable to eliminate these inconsistencies, the potential loss could be huge. We could have increased turnover with our staff, increased management time on our end. Our customers could lose faith in the services that we were providing, and all of these things are things that no janitorial company wants to face. Well, if Our clients hire us as their service provider, and they are constantly being berated with quality concerns. It looks terrible on them for their choice and selection of hiring us. And that would maybe lead prospective tenants or their existing tenants to look elsewhere for their leasing opportunities, which is definitely something that we don't want to have happen. So we tried all kinds of other solutions. QR codes, which had their own inherent difficulties with data usage, because a lot of the cleaners don't have enough data to be able to use those services on an ongoing basis without increased costs on our end with providing them with additional monetary support for their cell phone plans. In addition to that, there was also quality control systems like inspection reports, where you would have a manager or a site supervisor on site performing time-stamped inspection reports with photos and videos, and sometimes those didn't always align with what we were finding in the field. So we inherited a unionized site where there were multiple employees that were basically not following their job descriptions or their schedules in any way, shape, or form. We would have our management on site, and we would find them wandering around the building and not bringing any value to the quality of our services or to the value of the building overall. What we would do then is we would have our management staff continuously work with them to provide additional training or to do time assessments on their schedules to show them that they were able to perform their schedules and their scheduled duties within the time that they had allotted. And this was met with pushback from the employees, where they would run to the union and say, oh, hey, you know, they're expecting unrealistic productivity out of me, and it's not something that we can do. Yeah, it increases transparency with the unions. They were able to finally see that these troubled employees were using the cover of the union and the collective bargaining agreement to hide with poor performance. And when they saw that they weren't performing their job duties as scheduled, or there were quality concerns that could be fixed, it enabled them with a tool to, you know, either correct those actions with our help, or it enabled them to get onto our side and kind of explain to those employees that, hey, you need to do your job as described, or else there are going to be corrective actions that need to take place. Before Miro was implemented, there was a back and forth with the union where we would say that, you know, we've got proof and evidence that, you know, our management team is finding them wandering around the buildings, not following their job descriptions. We would have QR code reports that they were submitting that didn't align with what we were seeing in the field, and those were those exploitable gaps and that were susceptible to human error. And when we implemented Miro, those gaps completely vanished. Which again allowed the union to see what we were seeing as it was happening, which led to corrective actions being able to take place, whereas previously it would have just been, well, they're saying that, you know, they are following their schedule and that they don't have enough time, whereas in reality that wasn't the case. Typically when we're dealing with our unions, we follow a 3 or 4 step process where employees have to have multiple steps of corrective action before anything can actually take place, whether it's a suspension or any sort of termination or anything like that, which ideally we don't want to do on our end, because it's not good for the building, it's not good for our costs, and it's not good for the customers. So when we're able to provide them with real-time data and metrics that show that these things are happening, it changes the dynamic on their end. So then when they see this transparency, and we are able to prove to them through this process, the 3-step process, that, hey, look, this is example 1 where they weren't following their schedule, here's the data for it, or here's a quality concern that we're having over here that could be eliminated if they were doing X, Y, and Z. We wouldn't have this issue in the first place. And that transparency allowed the union to really come over to our side a little bit more, and enabled them with the tools to show to those troubled employees that, hey, we have that information, we can see what you're doing, and it eliminated that conflict between the he said, she said, and that data was critical in that process. Yeah, our productivity increased astronomically. It changed the whole dynamic of the property. When we were able to show them in real time with data and metrics It enabled us to increase their productivity, increase our training, where we could say, hey, you're doing X, Y, and Z over here. Maybe it's better if you do it this way. Or, we notice that you're spending a lot of your time in this area when it should be spent over here. And that increased productivity changed the dynamic of the property, where our cleaning services improved. We had increased transparency with the union. We had increased transparency with our customers, and it created a better overall working environment for everyone involved. For starters, we had those exploitable gaps that we were trying to eliminate, and we saw potential with the technology to eliminate those completely and provide better quality services. And then we did our pilot test with Muro and the team, and we found that the implementation was seamless, it was easy, there were no real obstacles to overcome outside of communication, which working with Muro was fantastic on that front, where they enabled us to provide proper communication with our customers, so they had all of their questions answered, their tenants, so they had all of their concerns answered, and with the union and our own staff, who had their own inherent questions about how we would use the system and how it would be implemented. And Muro's team really allowed us to have a seamless transition and implement this new technology. Yeah, so all of the stakeholders had their own questions. The union and the employees obviously wanted to know how we would be using the system, because there is an application where it can be used to a negative point, where you're micromanaging the employees, you're on them all the time. If they're having bathroom breaks, are you monitoring how long they're in the bathroom and those kind of situations? So there were obviously those concerns that we were trying to alleviate, and our use case was the best way to do it. We weren't intentionally using the product to micromanage. We were using it as a tool in our tool belt that gave us data-driven validation that we could show and improve transparency with the union, with our employees, and with our management team. Our customers wanted to know how the system worked, where would the technology go, would it be intrusive on the tenants, and the tenants had their own concerns about how that technology would be used in their workspace, and if it would create an unhealthy working environment. And when we advised them on what our intentions were, how we intended to use the product, and how the product would be implemented in the site, those concerns were basically alleviated immediately. Communication is everything, and transparency makes things a lot simpler with our customers, with the union, with our employees, with everybody involved. So when we're able to have that transparency with real data-driven validation in the cleaning and janitorial segment, it improved our relationships across the board. Unless you have a manager or a supervisor standing beside an employee the entire shift from start to finish, it's impossible to know the things that we're able to understand and to know with the technology that Muro's allowed us to have. And that's really improved our situation as a whole in the janitorial industry. It's created transparency on all fronts for our customers, for unions, for employees, for their tenants. And it's basically just been a game changer in the industry. There are many factors that our customers loved about the Muro technology, and it was funny, we were able to brainstorm with our customers on different applications on how Muro could be used for cost savings or for improved quality services in other sectors of the in building maintenance and building service providers, like for example security guards. Or with Muro's possibilities of having consumable tracking, there's a way to track consumables without having to retrofit dispensers with proprietary consumable products that have huge increased costs. So when they're able to take that information and save money, or to improve other services with one platform instead of having multiple different platforms spread out throughout all of their providers, it really simplified the dynamic and the overall building environment for multiple service providers, for our customers, for costs, basically just overall completely. So Muro was able to eliminate a lot of different factors for us. One of the big ones was there was no data usage for our employees. So when they don't have to rely on their cell phone bills and have increased costs on their end and our end, because we would subsidize them for those increased costs, that was a big one. On top of that, it eliminated those exploitable gaps by giving us real-time data validation metrics. It improved transparency, and the big one for us was that the startup process to integrate Muro was very seamless, whereas with other quality control systems it wasn't such the case. A perfect example of that is QR codes. When we go and implement QR codes at some of our sites, it's a very labor-intensive process where we have to go and print out those QR codes, apply them onto some sort of a sticker paper, and then go through every site that we have and put them on every door frame, every bathroom, every dispenser, basically anywhere that you wanted to use the product. And Muro's team, for our startup plan and for all of them that we've used subsequently, has been great. They come in, they take over. It's a seamless transition within a couple of days where the product is up and running. And again, it's just a superior product overall. Our whole team was basically shocked when we found out the capabilities of Muro. We're completely unaware that Muro was able to take our employee schedules that we had made, take those, put them into the system so that way it would flag when employees weren't setting industry standard productivity rates in certain areas. So for example, if a bathroom normally takes 15 minutes to clean, if a cleaner is in there for 2 or 3 minutes, that would obviously highlight a concern for us on our end and from the tenant's perspective as well, whereas they're seeing that, you know, the cleaners are just popping their heads into the washroom, maybe checking if the toilet paper is stocked and not actually doing any of the cleaning. So when we're able to have our schedules integrated into the technology and show that things are being done and completed as scheduled and as outlined, it was a shock to us. Yeah, we were also shocked with the fact that the population density tracking and consumable tracking were available to us as well. When we were able to find out that our customers would be able to see where the flow of the building was, it allowed us to really customize and tailor our services to fit the needs of the building and their property a little bit better. An example of that would be if the back entrance isn't getting as much frequent use, but the front entrance is getting really hammered with very high traffic flow, we're able to take that time allocated to those back entrances and repurpose it to those front entrances where we really need to focus on that area. It really improved the overall quality of the services that we were providing because we were able to tailor a specific, a customized approach to the building. Muro's team took the ball and ran with it. We gave them our schedules and an outline of who was on the site and what their scheduled hours were, and they took care of everything. They brought in the technology, they implemented it in a very professional and fast fashion where it was up and running within a couple of days, whereas I alluded to earlier, some of the other quality control systems take months to get up and running properly. So to have a seamless transition within a couple of days and be able to take the dynamic of a building and change it completely in such a short time frame was very impressive. We were shocked. We were able to really get a grip on what was happening in the building with the real timestamp data validation metrics. We were able to understand the flow of our employees, the flow of the building, the flow of the consumables, and it just made everything so much simpler. There were, of course, a couple of roadblocks. The union obviously had some concerns, so did our employees, and so did the tenants. So basically all stakeholders had questions that needed to be answered. Muro enabled us to answer all of those questions by providing us with the necessary materials that we could disseminate to all of them and their specific application, which was very helpful. Yeah, what really surprised us the first time was just how fast it was and how quickly we could get this system implemented and how fast we were able to get that data from the Muro team. We had Cole who came in and was providing us with daily reports basically from day one on what was happening in the building, where the cleaners were going, where we could maybe improve with our services, and that data and that communication was fantastic. It was really surprising. If you're comparing the quality control systems between Muro and QR codes or inspection reports, it's really, there's no comparison. Muro is seamless. It's a one-day transition where we're actually implementing and getting that data immediately, whereas with QR codes and the other software systems that we were using, it was a very labor-intensive process and it could take months at a time. There are a ton of ways that we could alleviate those concerns. There's a cost savings for them, there's a cost savings for us, and then there's the ability to integrate all of the systems that they were using previously into one system. And the great thing about it as well is the scalability is very simple. It's easy to integrate other service providers onto one platform, and that brings a massive benefit. And then that when you pair it with consumable tracking and population density and being able to really tailor fit each individual building's specific needs, it was easy to eliminate any concerns or questions that they had and to prove that there is an added value that Miro brings. It was easy for us to explain to them how there was a value add to them as well as to us and to all of their other service providers in the building. Once you bring forward a technology like Miro, it looks really good on us as well because we're bringing a value add to our customers through bringing Miro to their attention where they can have a huge cost saving, they can eliminate multiple other platforms with multiple other costs into one designated platform that is scalable across multiple different platforms. For example, if we're using it on the janitorial side, Miro is very easily able to integrate other service providers onto the same platform, which eliminates the costs associated with all the other ones. If the building operations team, the security guards, consumable tracking, population density tracking, all of those things paired together eliminate all of the other costs that are related to other services. That's a value add in itself right there. Yeah, I can give you an actual real example of how a conversation went with one of our customers. We were bringing Miro's technology forward to them, trying to integrate it into a site that we had already pre-existing and increase the overall quality services that we were providing. And that conversation got our customers' mind running with other possibilities on how they could use Miro to their advantage. They were able to tell us that they saw a value add with bringing other service providers onto the same platform. So for example, security services. This particular customer had a couple of examples where they had a security guard that was supposed to be somewhere at certain times and certain intervals, and it turns out it wasn't happening, and they found out about it when there was a serious issue. A flood happened, and the security guard was nowhere to be found. So when they were able to piece together that this technology would enable them to see in real time what was happening and if the services were actually being provided, it really made a value add to that customer where they could integrate other service providers onto the same platform. The scalability is very easy as well, which is fantastic with Miro's technology. The way that the system works, it's not cost prohibitive to increase the services. It's based on the size of the overall building. So adding more pieces of technology or integrating other service providers doesn't increase the cost, which is phenomenal for us and for our customers because they can scale it up on their own terms and bring on whoever they want to bring on as well. Yeah, there is, of course, a potential ethical dilemma on how the system could be used. We don't have the intention on micromanaging our employees in any way, shape, or form. That's not healthy for them. It's not healthy for the workplace environment as a whole. So when we were able to communicate with transparency what our intended purposes were, it was really easy to get them to buy in because it increased our communication, it increased their awareness on what was happening in the property with the members that they were representing. And it basically just made the entire environment much simpler, much cleaner, and a better place to be. The fact that Miro is invisible is also fantastic. So we're getting real-time data-driven validation metrics and transparency with the union without having, audio devices or cameras or monitoring systems in place. So it's a lot better that way as well because it's less intrusive on a moral and ethical standpoint. There was no eureka moment with the union in terms of getting them to buy in. Our conversation and the way that we had explained Miro and the technology and the value add that it brought and the transparency that it brought eliminated all of their concerns, especially the fact that, like I said before, it was invisible, it wasn't intrusive, and it really enabled the union to approve the system pretty rapidly and increased the turnover from, like I said, with other quality control systems where it's a month or 2 months, it turned it into a very quick and fast process. Yeah, the aftercare from Miro once the system was up and running was fantastic. We had Cole and his team sending us daily reports and showing us all of the data and explaining it to us and what we were looking at, so it wasn't an overwhelming and confusing process. And on top of that, we had a real in-person meeting at our office where they came and showed us how to use the dashboard, what information we could get out of it, and how we could then take that information and allow our customers to have transparency to it, which was fantastic. So with other quality control systems, it's a very labor-intensive process for us and for our employees. So our management staff not only has to put up all of the QR codes all over the property, but then we have to show each individual employee that we have how to use that quality control system, how to scan the QR code, and then that brings up a form and it impedes on their daily cleaning routines. Whereas with Miro, it's very seamless. You give them a key fob and they just kind of run with it. So after the implementation of the hardware, Miro is able to provide us updated support through updates on the software side of things, with integrating more services and allowing us to improve on our service deliverables by providing us with a better product. The other added benefit that Miro provided us with was they gave us a whole bunch of marketing materials and customer information that really made it easy to bring them into our properties and to retrofit them into buildings that we had, which allowed us to improve the quality of services, increase transparency, and that in itself allowed us to maintain and keep contracts and grow into new potential markets. What Miro's technology enabled us to do was to highlight confirmed and unconfirmed visits to designated areas within the facility. A good example of that is when we first implemented Miro at one of our sites, we found cleaners weren't following their routines like they should, and there was a lot more unconfirmed visits in certain areas than we wanted from a customer quality standpoint. And Miro's technology enabled us to highlight those unconfirmed visits and change that dynamic, so that way those unconfirmed visits turned into confirmed visits. And that data trend showed over the course of the first couple of months of implementation that those unconfirmed visits were basically eliminated and the confirmed visits grew substantially, which was fantastic for us because we were able to show the customers that, hey, before Miro systems we had this many unconfirmed visits in a designated time period, whereas now in that same time period we're getting 90 to 100% confirmation, which is a huge improved. So the best use case that I can give you was we inherited a unionized site that had a couple of troubled employees, and with Miro we were able to definitively prove that these people just weren't performing the job and it was intentional. We actually had one individual tell us that the only reason they had this job because their wife was making them come to work. When we found out that this kind of thing was happening, Miro enabled us to prove to the union that these employees were intentionally underperforming. When the employee found out that they were no longer going to be able to manipulate the system to their advantage, it led them to seek employment elsewhere where they had those exploitable gaps, which was really beneficial because we were able to have a speedy transition and turnover for those troubled individuals, whereas in the past with other systems that process could drag on for years of poor quality because of the way that the system worked. Yeah, the feedback from our customers has been quite substantial. It's been really beneficial for us as a service provider because the increased transparency on the service deliverables really brought heightened customer satisfaction all around, and it really changed the dynamic of the property for a huge benefit. We have a very proactive management style, but there is always that factor of hearing no complaints means that you're providing a good service, which, as we know, isn't always the case. And when we were providing those proactive hands-on management, we were able to kind of minimize those, but you can never eliminate them. But with Miro's technology, you don't need to be in the building on site all the time to know that those key performance indicators are being met and we're delivering on the services that we're supposed to be delivering on. So from that standpoint of increased transparency on what's actually happening in the building without physically being on site and having that no news is good news sort of mentality, it really changes that dynamic so we can provide better services without that assumption that no news is good news and the cleaning is happening. Well, there are tons of added benefits. Of course, transparency and overall quality of services increase, but it also increased productivity for our employees and for our managers. Without them having to drive from site to site to site, it improved our managers' efficiency, and it also reduced our overall emissions in driving from site to site, which was a huge added benefit for us. From an environmental standpoint, we want to do everything that we can to reduce carbon emissions, and the fact that our managers aren't driving around from site to site was an added benefit in itself. On top of that, they were able to increase their productivity by not having to be sitting in a car for hours on end in traffic of Toronto, driving around, which was a great added benefit. And on top of that, we had heightened productivity from our employees because of the added visibility and the fact that we were able to more effectively train and increase productivity that way, as well as the fact that the customized, tailored approach to each individual building's needs increased the productivity and service deliverables at that specific site, because instead of allocating time where it was not needed, we were able to really focus on the areas that needed the service. Some of the three main benefits that Muro was able to provide us was overall customer satisfaction improved. We had a decreased operational cost, and we were able to provide better quality services. Yeah, we've seen a huge return on investment from Muro's technology and their implementation at our sites with, again, increased customer satisfaction, decreased operational costs, and better quality services. And that return on investment is huge. It's opened the door for us to move into new markets. It's been very beneficial for our customers, for their tenants, and for the overall properties as a whole. It's improved our relationship with all of our customers and our clients that we've implemented at, and not only for our relationship, but for our customers' relationship with their tenants, because they're able to get actual data-driven metrics and data validation, which increases transparency of services, which increases the quality of services, which increases their likelihood of staying on with our clients and our customers, because other property management companies may not be offering the same kind of quality control systems at their site. So it's an added benefit for us, it's an added benefit for our customers, and it's an added benefit for their tenants. Yeah, so we had one tenant in particular who was quite adamant that they were having some quality concerns regarding the services and the washroom facilities throughout the day. And when we were able to implement Muro and have those confirmed and unconfirmed cleanings, it showed to us on our end that, you know, the confirmed visits weren't necessarily where they were supposed to be. So when we were able to increase those confirmed visits, the customer and the tenants' concerns were alleviated, because we were able to see in real time that there was an improvement on our end without having to physically be on site, which decreased their concerns and increased our quality of services. Being able to pinpoint specific pain areas for our customers was really an added benefit of Muro as well, because it alleviated the overarching theme of we're unhappy with this specific portion of the services, and it allowed us to pinpoint the specifics of which individual and what areas we needed to make those improvements, and Muro's technology enabled that to happen. Although we still have a very active and hands-on management team, Muro's allowed us to have peace of mind where we know what's happening in our buildings when we're not on site, which has been fantastic and a huge added value for us, because it's been able to increase our productivity and really give us the opportunity to pinpoint the problem areas at some of our sites, which sites have more concerns than others, and really drive home with our management team where they should be focusing their time. Muro's been able to help us stand out from our competitors in many different factors. Obviously, improving the quality of services has been extremely beneficial. Improving on tenant and customer relations has been vital because of the increased transparency. There's better communication because of that increased transparency, which has been really beneficial for our customers and for us. And then on top of that, the added value that Muro brings across the property as a whole by allowing the integration of other services and allowing our customers to use Muro as they need to use it. Miro allows our customers to use their software and their systems to their advantage, and not just our advantage, which has been to bring added value for them with population density tracking, consumable tracking, and the whole package that Miro offers is really beneficial to properties as a whole, from a cost savings perspective, from a management perspective, and from a communications and transparency perspective. So outside of the added value that it brings to our properties and to our customers, I think the big one is the fact that Miro's customer support and customer service team has been phenomenal throughout our whole relationship. We've seen an active growth potential with new customers, as well as being able to secure and maintain existing contracts, and increased our overall relationships with some of our existing customers, which has been fantastic. Yeah, it's been really beneficial for us because it's allowed our executive team to work with our managers to pinpoint specific areas that might need more attention, and allowed us to refocus them and refocus our staff to be more productive and to have better quality services overall from our management side. I would say reach out to Miro, explore the possibilities and how they can improve your quality services and increase customer satisfaction and transparency through their software. Our partnership has been growing on a pretty steady basis. We've been able to retrofit Miro into some of our existing sites, which has been able to allow us to maintain those contracts. And we see a growth potential with Miro as well in new sites. We're including Miro as part of our services on an ongoing basis moving forward, and we see a huge added benefit to our customers and to our organization as a whole. Yeah, it's definitely a revenue driver in the sense that Miro's technology enables our customers to integrate and to use this platform to their advantage as well, which we've seen from our customers' feedback that it increases our opportunities and our chances to secure future contracts, because we have a more robust quality control system than maybe other competitors may have. So there's an added value for us in bringing added value to our customers. And population density tracking and consumable tracking is a huge added value to our customers. Population density and consumable tracking enable us to provide customized and tailored services to them, which not only increases the quality of our services, but increases the quality of services that they can provide to their tenants, and a cost savings with being able to allocate resources to where they're needed and not to areas where it might be wasteful. When we're able to put hardware and retrofit it into existing dispensers instead of retrofitting them with proprietary products that have a huge increased cost, it allows our customers to save money on their end, and it allows us to provide a better quality service. A good example of that is in the janitorial industry. Without these systems, there's a huge waste on paper products, where we're changing toilet paper and hand towel before it's actually completely run out. Which is a waste on many different factors. It's a waste to the environment, it's a waste monetarily, and it's a waste of our time and our resources, where we can wait a little bit longer to make that final change on that paper towel or that toilet paper roll. So we're getting the most value out of it, which is a huge benefit to our customers. With population density tracking, it enables us to reduce our overall costs and save our customers money when we know that there's only 20% occupancy on a floor instead of 80%. Or we're able to custom tailor our services to better fit the needs of the property, where we have higher traffic flows in certain areas and lower traffic flows in other areas, so we can reallocate those resources to where they're needed, and that's a huge cost saving and added benefit to our customers. Whenever there's a transition period, there's always a little bit of resistance from the previous generation in terms of technology and how it can bring an added value to your organization. With Miro and their technology that they bring, that resistance wasn't quite the same as maybe with other products, because of the way that we were able to implement Miro and the fact that it gave us a huge leg up in terms of transparency and day-to-day functions and what's going on in our buildings. With Miro, there wasn't that same resistance from our senior leadership as we've seen with other technologies in the past, because there is an intrinsic added value that's brought to us and our customers. Yeah, overall, Miro has a huge added benefit to our organization and to our customers, and I highly would recommend them to anybody who's in the industry that has a need for any of these types of services, whether it's a janitorial provider, a security provider, a buildings operations team, or the property managers themselves. There's huge value in this technology, and I think it's a big game changer for the industry.